Thank you. Okay, so you already know what muscles or muscular tissues are. Like in this diagram itself, it becomes very clear. Muscles, as such, as a whole, they are made up of smaller muscle bundles. Each muscle bundle is made up of your different muscle fibers, or also called as muscle cells, and they are made up of your myofibril, which is nothing but the proteins. This black or kind of bluish thing, that was the actin protein, which is you can see here in enlarged view, and the myosin protein. And because of the various bands, that is dark band and light band that they made, they were called as striated muscles. And if this pattern is absent, they will be called as non-striated muscle. Now only pattern is absent means these proteins, two proteins, that is actin and myosin, they are not arranged in this fashion. That is when the pattern will be absent. But proteins will be very much present in the muscles. Protein will never be absent from these muscles. So these two proteins, they will always be present. It just if they have this pattern of light and dark bands, or what we call black and white bands, they will be called as striated muscles. And in absence of these striations or patterns, we call them non-striated muscles. Functions, I guess you are very much aware of it. I don't have to revise it. These three concepts that we had looked at: sarcoplasm, sarcoplasmic reticulum, and sarcolemma, which are the equivalents of the regular cell in terms of muscle cell. So these are the like similar parts in the muscles itself. Okay, so that was it. And then three types we had looked at in the brief. So I'll directly come to the first one. So these are called so skeletal muscle because they are attached to the skeleton. Nothing great in there, because they are very closely attached to the skeleton. They are called skeletal tissue. They are also known as striated muscles. Again, why striated? Because they show alternate patterns of light and dark band because of the presence of actin and myosin protein. Yeah, you don't have to remember the last part, why actin and myosin, but you can at least remember what striation is. Yeah, that is for your uh, better information. So that is the skeletal muscle, or also called as striated muscles, or they are also called as voluntary muscles, because you can move these muscles on your own way. Now these light and dark bands from these patterns, these are the sarcomeres. uh, Sarcomeres are nothing but again just those structures which are present in uh, uh, like protein structures which are present in the muscles. They are highly organized structure of these actin, myosin, and protein, and that's what will form those dark band, and they are responsible for ultimately the contraction and extension of the muscle or relaxation of the muscle. Most of the things we already know from this. 40% of the body mass comprises skeletal muscle, because you can imagine your quadriceps, biceps, and so on, or the back muscles, like some of them, they are all voluntary muscles. So like, and they make a lot of mass of your body. So whenever, let's say for example, you go to a gym or do a bodybuilding kind of exercises, uh, these are actually bulking up your skeletal muscle, and they make stronger your smooth muscles and cardiac muscle. Obviously you know those cardio exercises, so they make cardio muscles as well as, or the cardiac muscle and the smooth muscles, relatively stronger. But the bulking up of the body is of the skeletal muscle. Each of the skeletal tissue contains myofibril that we had seen in the diagram, and each of the cells of this tissue, they are multinucleated. Can anyone think of why a cell has to be multinucleated? If one nucleus is sufficient?
So it gets the work done faster.
Yeah, in a way. How exactly? But
Because it can control, like it can coordinate better, or it can control more parts of the cell.
yeah, true. Pratham?
Yeah, same, sir. The cell is very long, right? So
Right. So yeah, that is main reason. Now, when the cell is very long, or let's say elongated, how we call it, and if the nucleus is present at the center or even any of the sides, then for a particular protein, Ishan, you want to say something?
Yeah. So how do multinuclear cells divide?
They divide like normal cells.
So both the nuclei replicate, or one replicates then it splits into two.
See, multinucleated means you duplicate a copy of genetic material and everything, and then you create two copies of those nucleus and keep them at two different places. Or if it is multi nucleus, then you make those many copies and you keep it at different places. It's like from one nucleus, how it makes two nucleus. Instead, you keep dividing, like the cell will keep dividing until they make whatever number of nucleus within that cell. So it's simple mitosis itself.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, if the cell is too elongated and if the nucleus is either at the center or at the sides of these cells, then for transport of protein from one end to the other end will take some time, right? Or even the transfer of energy in terms of ATP will also take some time. So to make those actions faster or these processes faster, it most of the cells they like which are multinucleated, the purpose is this one, to make the actions or the processes of the cell faster than uh, like otherwise. So like muscles, you already know, they do lot of work in terms of whether you are walking, whether you are talking or whatever, you are continuously moving your body. So that way muscles has to do quite a lot of work, and that's why they need more energy, more proteins and so on. So it has to be multinucleated. So that
sir,
is,
and they have a relatively larger number of mitochondria, right?
yes, that is also correct. So like with I guess I still so around these myofibrils or around this muscle fiber, there is a large network of this endoplasmic reticulum, which is called as sarcoplasmic reticulum, right? And within at the walls of these each muscle cell, there is the mitochondria aligned almost throughout, and there are many mitochondria in number compared to the regular cell. So that is how the muscle cells, they are little different than the normal cell.
Because they need a more energy,
Yes, correct. Okay, so that is the why it has to be multinucleated, uh, and of course they are also provided with blood vessels because that will provide nutrition, and many elongated mitochondria and glycogen granules. So when like mitochondria we already discussed, glycogen granules. So whenever you take like body has absorbed lot of glucose, or lot of glucose has been synthesized through the metabolism process, then that glucose is not stored for long, right? As mean glucose as such. So that glucose is usually converted into glycogen, and that glycogen is stored into fat tissues, like adipose tissues or liver tissues or muscle tissues. And those whenever there is a higher need of oxygen, this glucose has to be broken down. So ultimately that glucose will be obtained from the glycogen. Glycogen is nothing but the polymer of glucose. So if you just keep adding glucose one after another, what you get is a glycogen molecule. So it is a polymer of glucose, and that way they are stored. And whenever there is a need, glycogen is broken down to glucose, and glucose will be broken down for energy production. So that way they are used. So muscles, they also have this glycogen granule. And of course, we know the last point, that is the movement of the body. So that is the skeletal tissue, which are voluntary striated muscles They are also called as they also have multinucleated cells, and you know the reason now. And rest of the facts, they remain same, being a muscle.
So
Yes.
the last point says they bring about the movement of the organs of the body, but the organs of the body don't move.
Hand, leg.
But that's not organ.
Yeah, that's the organ system in a way.
Oh, but I thought organs are like lungs and
Yeah,
liver.
they are internal organs. These are peripheral organs.
Okay.
Okay, so then going to the second type, that is smooth muscle tissue. Now, these are non-striated. Now, again, can someone tell me what this non-striated would mean here?
It could mean like the actin and myosin are not arranged in that manner.
Yes, but actin and myosin, they are present. They are just not arranged in that specific pattern of creating those dark band and light band. That's it. So there will be no striation because of no pattern of actin and myosin. Otherwise, there will be these proteins present in those smooth muscles as well. So they are also called as involuntary muscles because they are not controlled by our will, but they are controlled by the nerve impulse or the hormonal action. So like we had discussed these two actions of the body, one can be either through nerve regulation and second can be through hormonal regulation. And these both of these actions, they make these muscles involuntary, so we cannot really control it that way. And they are controlled by the autonomous nervous system. That is one type of nervous system which we will see later in the nervous tissue, just as a quick description. But autonomous refers to automatic in general, right? So where whatever is automatic in terms of muscle movement, that is involuntary, and that is a type of smooth muscle. It stimulates the contractility of your digestive system, urinary system, reproductive system, blood vessels, and airways. Now, can someone again give a quick example of how is the contractility important in digestive tract?
Small intestine.
Sorry.
In the small intestine,
Yeah, and what happens due to the contractility?
the food moves.
Okay, perfect. In urinary system, someone else? Ronit, why don't you try to answer? Mr.
Sir,
Ronit.
is the contractility of the small intestine peristalsis or something else?
Yes, that is one type of movement. So peristalsis is also of different types, but again, that is not the scope of the syllabus.
So that's like movement because of contraction, right?
Yeah. So usually, like if I have to explain this peristalsis, do you know how exactly does it happen?
Yeah. Can I try?
No.
So there are two layers, right, on both sides of the thing, of the food. So what happens is like both the layers contract towards towards the thing and allows it to move forward.
They
Yeah.
contract behind the object,
Yeah,
pushing
yeah.
it forward.
Correct. But then at the same time, it has to relax at the point where food is present.
Yeah.
So, but it is like it's always in ring structure. So let's say there is 1 centimeter ring like structure, like there are so many rings. One ring will contract, other will relax, the next one will be contracted, next will be relaxed. So there is alternate contraction relaxation pattern, and that way the food will be kept pushing always forward. So forward as in downward through the gastrointestinal tract. So that's how the peristalsis is done usually. And with stomach, it is different. Okay, what about the urinary tract? Someone else? Where is the contractility required in urinary tract?
So I guess it's the lining.
Sorry.
I guess it's the lining,
What lining?
like the outer, like the border type. So it contracts and relaxes for the urine to like stay or go.
I actually am missing few words from you, what you are saying. So,
So,
huh?
like in seventh, Kasturiaka told us that it's like in the urinary system, there's like two, like at the end, there are like two different muscles. There's like one involuntary muscle and there's one voluntary one. So, like the involuntary one, it's like it, that I'm not sure what exactly happens,
Okay.
but there I remember it's like.
Anyone else wants to add something quickly?
I think it's like two gates. The one is involuntary, one is voluntary.
Correct. It's nothing but they are called as sphincters. Sphincters, right? Sphincters. These sphincters are nothing but just a muscle door of the organ, right? You already know what a door does. It just either opens up or closes, right? So these muscle sphincters, they are like a door of that particular organ. So for example, we have a bladder, urinary bladder, which will store the urine which has come from the kidneys, right? Now, once the urinary bladder has that opening, which is going to open into urethra, you know, that is the external opening in case of male as well as female. So before the urethra, at the junction of urinary bladder and urethra, there is this sphincter, and then once it opens, then you can release the urine outside the body, or what we call excrete the urine outside the body. And once it is closed, it will hold on the whole of the urine within the urinary bladder. So that way, and the contraction relaxation is of that muscle sphincter at the junction of the urethra and the urinary bladder. So depending on that contraction and relaxation, it will create that opening and closing movement of the bladder. Also, bladder is kind of squeezed a bit so that the urine will be passed down through the urethra. So that is also another type of contractile movement in the urinary system. In reproductive system, again, anyone?
So the movement of the ovum to the uterus was there.
Yeah, movement of ovule to the uterus. Again, that is involuntary. So let's say I assume you have heard of menstrual cycle, and on the 14th day of this menstrual cycle, the ovule is released from the ovary and it comes down into the fallopian tube, which is one of the structure. It is a tubular structure, for example. So it comes to that tube, and that movement of this ovule is guided by the contraction and relaxation of those tubular structure. In case of male, where is this like contractility? Anyone? Again, I hope people
I
are.
think sir, the urine maybe from the wait.
Wait, the place from where the sperms are produced and the place where they are stored.
Yeah, so we like in biological language, so the testis is located in the scrotal sac, right? So to maintain the temperature, which is little lower than the body temperature, the scrotum is hanging outside the body in case of males, and those muscles within the scrotum, they are also contractile. Secondly, during the ejaculation, right, when the sperms are ejaculated out of the male body through the penis structure, that time also this contraction of the at the base of urethra, the muscles at the base of urethra, they are contracted, and the semen is ejaculated or the sperms are ejaculated outside the body. So that's where this contractility in male as well as in the female works. In case of again female, I guess we discussed about the labor pain at some time point. That is the uterine contraction during the childbirth, right? So that is also a type of contractility. In even in case of like during that phase of gestation or during that phase of pregnancy, the uterine at the end, the uterine will contract so that the baby can come out of the body. So these are the various examples in the reproductive system. In the blood vessels, where is the contractility involved?
Sir, the walls have to contract to push the blood up, right?
No.
So how does it go up? Like if it to go against gravity, right? So how does it go up?
Maybe someone can try and answer this.
That's when the heart's pumping, no?
Exactly. Then where is the contractility of the blood vessels?
But I thought the blood vessels contracted near the feet so that blood can travel against gravity.
Okay, maybe let me make things clear here a bit. Blood vessels, they do have a role in pumping or carrying the blood to different parts. But major action of transport of blood happens due to the pumping action of the heart. Heart literally pushes the blood at such a great pressure that it goes on until the end of the whether it's a leg or hand or whatever, until the end or until the periphery of the tissues. So that is the heart which is pushing the blood throughout this blood vessel. And secondly, there is a certain role of blood vessels based on their diameter, either increased or decreased, they will add to that blood pressure. But the major blood pressure is created by the heart. Okay, someone has raised hand. I missed that. Shiv, I guess.
Yeah. Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
So is the blood flow in a wave or is it like in a rhythm like tuk tuk or something?
It is like one surge, then second surge. It's like how a production unit has that conveyor belt, no? Like
Right, yeah.
2, 3. It's like continuous, right? So you
Hmm.
don't see the gap between first and second and third and so on. So whatever first lot of blood is pumped, because you imagine it's like a closed system, right? Let's say you have that plastic balloon which is connected with a tube, right, on both sides, and then when you press the balloon, more will be pushed, but that doesn't mean the there is a surge which is going. Blood still flows very smoothly from there, right? And also the volume of blood does not change. Whole of the blood circulation unit is completely filled with your blood. There is no air space. So that way, if you push at one point or you contract something at one point, obviously the blood is going to get filled. And that is when we have two different compartments, rather four different chambers. When the upper chamber of the heart will contract, they will push the blood in the lower compartment, and when the lower will contract, the upper compartment will relax and it will get filled with the blood. While the lower is contracting, it will push the blood forward. So that way they work in sync.
Okay.
And okay, so that first pumping action of the heart, and secondly, in terms of blood vessels, now let's say whenever there is like you need lot of blood supply, right? So like for example, you are doing certain physical activity and you need lot of blood supply because you need lot of nutrition, you need more oxygen and so on. So ultimately you need more blood supply. So more blood supply, the veins or the capillaries or the blood vessels in general, they will dilate so that more blood will be flown to that particular tissue. So for example, you are running, that means your legs will need more blood supply. So the blood vessels in the leg area, they will expand a bit so that they can carry what do you say, more blood, right? And once they are, they don't need more blood supply, they will come back to their original diameter. So that way, this contraction and relaxation of the blood vessels, it helps. And again, it is related to the action of adrenaline. Whenever we are doing physical activity, the adrenaline goes high. That will cause relaxation of the blood vessels in these skeletal muscles and even in the heart, and then it will increase the blood supply. And once the adrenaline is gone down, the blood vessels, they normalize to their original size. So that is the contractility of the blood vessels. Okay, does anyone have any questions here?
Yes.
Yes.
So I forgot. I had a question like when you were explaining and then I forgot.
Okay, if you remember, you can let me know later. Okay, so so these are the different contractile actions of the smooth muscles, and they will perform the contractility or relaxation as and when they want. And airways, of course, we all know lungs, they inhale and exhale by expansion of the lung, and like that way, that's when we inhale and exhale when the lungs contract. So that is very simple. Now, these actin and myosin filament, which we already discussed, they are arranged very randomly and they are very thin, and that is why no striation. And the cells of the smooth muscle, they are spindle shape with a single nucleus. Spindle shape, I assume you know what spindle is. So it's like that, two bulbs and a kind of narrow portion in between. And the reason why they are spindle shape is again because of their high contractility and relaxing ability. So that is the basic information of the smooth muscle. Okay, then I will move forward with cardiac muscle. Again, cardiac muscle, these are also involuntary muscle, but these are striated muscles. So skeletal muscles, they are striated and voluntary. Yeah, again, you don't have to imagine these things, like, or you don't even have to mug up. Understand from the very logical perspective. Skeletal muscle, they help you in your voluntary movements, so obviously they are going to be voluntary muscles. Smooth muscles, like for example heart, lung, blood vessels, and so on, they you cannot control, so they are involuntary, and they are non-striated because actin and myosin is randomly arranged. Now, cardiac muscle, they are again involuntary because you can't control the action of your heart, so involuntary. And these are striated muscles. Why? Because they are performing specific rhythmic activity of the cardiac muscles or the heart as such. And why? Because they have to pump the blood with the same force every now and then, right? So that is why there has to be some pattern into this, what we say, the protein arrangement, and that's why there will be striations present. So cardiac muscles, they are involuntary and striated, and function is the pumping of the blood through the cardiac contraction using the heart as the organ. The cells of these cardiac muscles, they are known as cardiomyocytes. These are specifically known as, so cardio again related to heart, myo refers to muscle, cytes refer to cell. So heart muscle cell is nothing but a cardiomyocyte. And these are single cell and uninucleated. Now you can imagine, the moment we say uninucleated, they have to be relatively smaller in size, and they will not be elongated like other muscle cells and so on. So
What does it mean by single cell?
sorry,
What does it mean by single cell?
single celled means these are arranged in like stacks of single cell layer. That's
There
what.
is one cell in a tissue.
Yeah, it actually every tissue is single celled that way. But yeah,
Ah, that's what.
yeah, but it like you can ignore that part. Yeah, so they are uninucleated in terms of their presence of nucleus in the cell. The ends of these, now this is again one of the very interesting and important fact, which is not part of the syllabus, but I felt I should tell you about it. So the ends of the cell, now you know when there are neighboring cell, they are going to have a common area where they are connecting each other, right? So that particular junction is called as intercalated disc. I'm sure everyone has seen sugarcane or bamboo, right? How they have this ring-like structures all over it. That is nothing but an intercalated disc. Disc is a circular shape, and intercalation means in between some things. So in this case, intercalated disc are those common circular faces where the two cells they are attached. So that is nothing but the intercalated disc, and they are attached to each other by structure which is called a desmosome. Now this is again one of the specific characteristic of this cardiac muscle cells, which have certain proteins which are attaching to their movement and allowing that contracting and relaxing ability. Now you imagine, like let's say you put, let's say I have 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter a vessel, like a cubical vessel, and you put stones in it. You will not be allowed to like make its contraction and relaxation because it's so hard. So there has to be something which is going to make it soft. So cell and the tissue is something like, so there has to be some space between those individual cell which is given by desmosome. So whenever there is a contraction, the cells will be brought closer to each other, and whenever there is relaxation, the cells will be moving away from each other. Again, one cell will move closer and it will go away from the other. So that way they create that movement, and this is specifically done with the help of proteins which are present at this intercalated disc-like structure. So that is one of the function of these two structures, that is intercalated disc and desmosome. But again, you don't have to remember these two structure, that was just for your information. But what you need to remember here again is cardiac muscles, they are involuntary and striated, and the cells, they are specifically called as cardiomyocytes, which are uninucleated cells, and that's it. And of course, you know the function of these cells. Okay, any question here so far? This is just a diagram which will show you the where these muscles are present and their arrangement and whatever. Now in cardiac muscles, actually you don't really see a striations, but if you look in this diagram, it is kind of shown, if it is visible to you. I hope so.
Yeah,
They are more clear. Here
like light line.
striations. Yeah, here there are very light striations.
Sir, please check chat.
What is it? Ayyo, there are 12 messages. You can share it in the Google Classroom, Pratham. That's okay.
Sir, there's something
Okay, sir.
covering the diagram.
Sorry.
No, nothing, sir.
Okay, so that was the,
So
yes.
these kind of cells, the ones we just did, they're only found in the heart, right?
Sorry, these kind of,
Cells that we just did, they're only found in the heart.
yes, cardiomyocytes, they are present only in the heart, nowhere else. Smooth muscles, they are present again throughout the internal organs. You name it, and like blood vessels or urinary system or reproductive system or others, like lungs and so on. There everywhere it is present. Skeletal muscles, all the like leg muscle, hand muscles, back muscles, abdominal muscles, these are all skeletal muscles, and the rest only which are in heart, that is cardiac muscle.
Okay.
Okay, does anyone have any question? Okay, so what we can do is, I guess we can stop here. We will not take more than 10 to 15 minutes in the next class to finish nervous tissue. So there we can talk about it. Also, some of the facts you would know about it already. So we will do that in the next class. And then I have certain questions which I have put here. Don't go over it beforehand. We will do it in the class.
So we did nervous system last year, so that would help.